What's going on today, guys? Welcome to another El Camino video. So I did get some more parts in, and I'll just run down what I have planned for today's video. So let's check it out. As far as exhaust stuff goes, so we did go ahead and get some of these Motion Raceworks flanges, so they bolt up to the factory exhaust manifolds, and basically we're gonna have to do some welding, or my brother's gonna have to. So got this 2.5 inch into 3 inch, so these will fit snug in here like this, and then we'll just weld these up. And then I did get 4 foot of this stainless 3 inch as well, just to get the exhaust started. Once the engine controller kit comes in, we'll have to plug in some O2 sensors. So we're also gonna drill into this right here, and then mount these O2 bungs and weld those in. That way we can at least get the car started and drive it to an exhaust shop once it's done. And then also got some red RTV. So Motion Raceworks said the factory gaskets won't work for these flanges, so it's recommended you just use red RTV. So we got some of that there, and then just got some heat shield for some of the lines we're going to be running. And then I did get a QA1 sway bar. So when we were putting this motor in, we ran into some clearance issues because the sway bar runs right here, and basically the engine hoist was hitting it. So I decided to take it off. But during the process of taking it off, we did manage to basically strip the top of this off. So instead of trying to place that, I just decided to go with this Q1A sway bar, since I'm going to be doing Q1A suspension on this car in the future anyways. Figured might as well just start it and, you know, get a piece of it going. Moving on to the car over here. So I did a few small things, like installed this heat shield for the starter down here, and installed this exhaust manifold, or I attempted to. Surprise! More fitment issues with this car. As you can see, we had to lop off this flange. Yeah, there's no way that was going to fit down there. So my brother got some stainless steel wire from his work, and he's going to basically fabricate something, and we're going to aim that flange down here somewhere so everything clears. The other thing I'm going to do is measure for a drive shaft, so hopefully we can cut down the old one, or we might have to have a new one made. Something like that. How's she look down there?
Well, it's close, but it's not touching. Oh, it looks really shitty.
I mean, it's not that bad though. I mean, you'll never see it anyways.
Could be worse.
I mean, for what we have to work with for the first time ever doing that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Kind of want to maybe tack it and just see.
Well, here it is. My brother knocked this out pretty quick, and in my opinion, it turned out pretty good for what we had to work with. Then I just went ahead and hit this with the Dremel on the inside, just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you won't see this anyways when it's in the car, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it turned out way better than if I would have attempted it. So very thankful my brother bought a welder. And then since the transmission that came out of this car, the Turbo 350, is shorter than the Tremec T56 that we put in it, the drive shaft has to be shortened. So I actually called the local Driveshaft shop here in town, and he just told me he just needs one measurement. But I just printed off this drive shaft ordering form. I found it online, And I'm just going to give them a few different measurements just to be 100% sure. And then I also do have this handy Bosch measuring tool here. I think it's going to be a lot more accurate than me trying to crawl up under there with a tape measure by myself and try and get an accurate measurement. Guys, so it's now a few days later. So I took those measurements, took the old Driveshaft here into my local Driveshaft shop. And basically, the transmission that came out of this car, it's a turbo 350, so it's shorter than this Tremec T56 manual transmission that we put in the car. So we had to cut a pretty good chunk out of the drive shaft. So when I took it in, the guy said he actually couldn't do it, because don't quote me on this, I think he said this was 2 3/8 into a 3-inch. So we had to cut so much out that he would have to reattach this 2 3/8 into the 3-inch, and he said he couldn't do it. So he said, why don't I just make you a brand new drive shaft? So here we go, brand new drive shaft, and it's already got my fingerprints all over it. But yeah, he just made it 3-inch all the way back, so we don't have this taper on either ends anymore. And then, as you can see, this is a smaller U-joint, so we do have bigger U-joints to go along. So yeah, it'll be much more stouter drive shaft for this application with the horsepower we're going to be running. So kind of happy we went this route anyways, instead of trying to reuse and cut down this old one. As you can see here, we got the rear drive shaft bolt back up in. So yeah, this car is technically sitting at ride height since we have the jack stands up underneath the rear axle. There's my R1 over there. The only thing that is slightly concerning to me is I think this rear yoke is supposed to stick out of the back of the transmission 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, or it's supposed to have that much play just due to the rear suspension compressing up and down. It can cause this drive shaft to move back and forth. So basically I measured, so if this yoke bottomed out to where the drive shaft's bolted up right now, we only have 5/8 inch worth of play right here. So I did call the guy that made the drive shaft for me. I let him know, hey, I might have measured this wrong. I think the drive shaft might be too long. And he said, whoa. Let's back up. He said, well, was the drive shaft easy to bolt in? Were you struggling to kind of push it forward and bolt it up from the rear end? And I said, no, it didn't really give me much fight. It just kind of slid into place and I bolted up. He's like, honestly, I wouldn't worry about it. He's like, that rear suspension is not going to compress on that car enough for that drive shaft to kind of bottom out in the back of the transmission. He said, just keep an eye on it. He's like, but honestly, I wouldn't worry about it for right now. So it is something I'm going to be mindful of. But yeah, if you happen to know, do you think 5/8 inch worth of play is enough for this rear yoke sitting out the back of the transmission? While the car's on jack stands, I'm going to focus on making some coolant lines for the oil cooler right here. So Holly was nice enough to actually list off the part numbers and all the fittings and adapters you need if you're going to be running basically their accessory drive kit or their power steering or their alternator. So when you buy an LT4 crate motor, it comes with a factory line that actually runs back into the water pump, the front of the water pump, and dumps down. But since the Holley power steering pump kit kind of blocks that area, they come with like a little fitting that blocks off the hole in the water pump. And then basically they tell you to install this adapter that runs into the basically an AN fitting. So that's what I'm going to be focused on right now, is just making that line that dumps from the bottom block into the oil cooler. And then this one's the return that we got to figure out how to plumb back into the radiator at some point. All right, I followed the directions and we got the first fitting installed. So now I'm going to do a quick measurement to see how far from the bottom of the block into that oil cooler, and cut the line and install the fitting. And what's cool about these, I didn't know, is these are swivel fittings. I was worried that I had to tighten it down in like a perfect spot. But yeah, learning something new. Now, I don't have the most glamorous setup in the world, but it'll work for what I'm doing. So basically, I stuck the fitting in a vise here, wrapped a microfiber cloth around it so it didn't scratch it. And then on this end of the fitting, I did wrap some electrical tape around it. And I'm using a handy crescent wrench, just getting it tightened up into place. I was too cheap to buy AN wrenches. They would be nice to have and invest in. But yeah, I'm kind of broke with spending money on the rest of this car, so this will work for now. All right, we got this line ran from the bottom of the block to the back of the oil cooler right here. And as you can see, it's pretty tight up here, so it's actually kind of difficult to get this snugged down. And then I went ahead and threw some heat shield over the line. Since we're so close to the exhaust manifold, I didn't want any problems with heat possibly melting this line. And I threw a hose clamp over the heat shield just to kind of secure it in place, just to make sure it wouldn't slide down over time. And then I went ahead and got the AN line right into this fitting right here too. And that's going to be basically the return to the radiator. I'm not sure how we're going to do that until the front of the car is back on. I'm about to make this oil return line that comes off this factory oil separator, oil catch can, whatever you want to call it. So when you buy an LT4 crate motor, there's a factory line that runs from the separator catch can tank, and then it runs into the oil pan down there as like a return line. So basically this factory line is bolted up so close to the block, it's like bolted on with a little clamp, and it runs so close and tight. When I went to go put on these motor mount adapters and the motor mounts, there's no way that factory line was going to work. Now with the Holley accessory drive kit that I was going to buy, Holley makes their own separator tank. It's like aluminum, and there's an adapter, and then there's an Earl's fitting, like a 90 degree that runs off of that. So I originally purchased that thinking that's what I was going to do. Now since that Holley accessory drive kit is on back order until June, I opted to just go with Holley's alternator kit and power steering pump kit, which means we're using this factory separator. Now the factory line, it's got this weird inlet on it. I'm sure you could probably buy this, possibly. I didn't research it enough. So what I did, it's not pretty. So basically I just cut the factory line right here, and then as you can see, I already got the Earl's 90 degree fitting coming off the oil pan there. So I'm going to run AN line out of that fitting and then up to this, and I'm just going to put like a hose clamp on it. Since it's not like a high pressure line, it's just like a return line, I think we should be fine. So we'll see how that works out. And here's that line. So I got the AN line cut down, and then here's that factory line that I had cut off. So basically this Earl's AN line is kind of threaded, if you can see, and it was pretty tight getting on this, so I just kind of twisted it until we butted up to this little kind of stopper right here, I guess you'd say. But yeah, it's pretty tight, no cracks or anything, so I'll just slide the nylon over it, throw a hose clamp, and then I'm probably going to throw some more heat shield on this, just because we're so close to this factory manifold right here, and don't want to have any problems with that melting this line we just made. Now there it is, the oil return line for the oil catch can or oil separator is complete. So yeah, I got some heat shield on it, I got the clips back in place, and yeah, it turned out pretty good. Well, that's probably going to do it for today's video. I know I'm slacking on filming. To be honest, guys, when I come over here to work on this car, I have limited time to really get things done. So I'm kind of stressing the whole time too, because it's a lot of money, and I'm just hoping and praying all the parts I ordered go together well and everything goes as it should, and researching and just trying to problem solve. You know, it can be a lot for a guy like me, especially when there's a lot of money involved like this situation. So I'm just doing my best to kind of get this car thrown together in memory of my grandfather. You know, me and my brother get to work on this, and you know, it's quality time with him, and you know, it's really kind of priceless. But yeah, while we were working, we did get some more parts in. We did get the Holley accessory drive system for the front of this motor. So that'll be coming up as the install in the next video. As always, guys, thanks for watching.